programming for us, so it's wonderful that you made it, and it's really wonderful to have Annie here. Before we get started, I wanted to acknowledge that we are on the unceded lands of the Chemehuevi, Cahuilla, Serrano, and Mojave people, and we thank them for that. Thanks for being here. As I said, Annie will do a brief introduction for herself and an artist talk, and then afterwards we will be going out into the landscape for a bit of a walk and a reinterpretation of some of the artworks that are here. Just wanted to welcome Stephen Biller, who's on our executive committee, and then many of you know Kate Collins, who's our program manager. We have visitors from Vancouver. It's fantastic. So thanks for being here, and over to you, Annie.
Great. Thanks, Bernard. Okay, well, thanks for the intro, Bernard. I really want to thank you and Boxo Projects for this beautiful invitation. I've been coming down to Joshua Tree for the past 15 years or so, since I moved from Montreal to the west coast of Canada, and definitely was love at first sight. So any chance that I get, to come down here is one that I really welcome. And part of the impetus behind today's talk is this latest body of work that was produced here in Joshua Tree during some time at high desert test sites, which we presented over the course of about 5 or 6 months in LA at Royale Projects. And I just thought, we've got to bring it back somehow into the desert to actually, speak with people who are kind of living and breathing this space, or who, like me, are just, call it their second space, maybe. I did want to give gratitude as well to the Cahuilla, Serrano, and Chemehuevi people whose ancestral lands I'm very fortunate to be visiting. Thanks, Bernard, for pronouncing those better than me as well. Okay, so the work that I do in my practice is all about kind of exploring and prodding at visual perception and kind of trying to break that apart. So what we thought would be fun today is to do a talk that's kind of framed around visual perception. So I'll share a couple of artwork examples, then we can go deeper if you want to or not. It's a nice day. I guess it's kind of always nice out here, but maybe we don't want to sit in the dark too long. So I'll share a couple of works, but then I'll also share some vision theories with you, and we'll kind of play with our eyes a little bit. And then, like Bernard said, we'll go ahead and we'll take some of that, outside. I just wanted to, before I really jump in, I wanted to read to you just a little. I've been lucky to have a lot of time to think out here and to write. I wonder if I'm going to find that page. Yeah, okay, so this is just something that I wrote this morning when I was thinking about where, I don't know, for the other artists in the room, maybe it's just me, but I feel like I question my existence every Wednesday at a specific time. Anyway, so I was writing some things down, and I just want to start maybe with that, and then we'll jump in. I wrote, in an era of attention economy and simulation, where many of the images that we see are really presented with political and capitalist sort of intentions and motives, it feels more important now than ever to deconstruct how vision creates knowledge and to build visual literacy that can empower us and inevitably bring us closer together as humans, as animals, and not just as people living within these power structures. Okay. Let's begin, and I'll kind of check in with you, but tell me if I'm going on and on. Okay. So when I was a kid, I read this story. It was called Feed. It's since been made into a TV show. But what people were able to do it was in the future. It was a sci-fi kind of show, and basically people had these brain implants where they could communicate to each other and send each other images through their own eyes. In a way that just, kind of transcended. Nobody needed to speak anymore. There was no more there was no more need for verbal language. And I always say that once we're in that era, I'll stop making work. Because this is really why I make what I make. Has anybody ever seen the Aurora Borealis?
We had a little bit here last year.
Two, really?
Just a little.
Oh yeah. Oh, that must have been.
In Vancouver, you get it, but also you maybe show it in the last couple of years.
Yeah. Well, all you hear about when it does pop up in Vancouver is the traffic jams on the way to the beach. But yeah, did you manage to see them?
Yes.
Oh, you did. Okay.
But they don't look like they do in photographs. Photographs enhance them, you think they're far fucking out.
Exactly. Exactly.
The color is wrong.
Yeah, no, exactly. I went to Iceland a couple of years ago now for a residency, a 1-month residency. Now I have a 5-year-old, so I'm only ever. Okay, I won't complain about it. I can only ever travel for a really short time, but I was immersed for a whole month. Hi. Grab yourselves a drink and come on in. So I went for a month, and during the winter solstice. And the main thing was, I'll show you what I was researching while I was there, but one of the things that I really wanted to see were the northern lights. And I went out and just tried and tried. This is as close as I managed to get to seeing the northern lights. And I didn't see this at all. It's like Claudia was saying, the camera saw this. I didn't see anything at all. Disappointing. I'll have to go back. I wanted to share this quote. Il ne faut pas voir la réalité telle que je suis. We must not see reality as I am. And I think that's kind of what we'll get into today. Take that however you want to take that. But the idea is that we kind of fabricate a lot of our own sort of realities. So this is why I went to Iceland. I'm a part-time lecturer at an arts university up in Vancouver, and one of my students came from a long lineage of rock fells, and she gifted me this rock because she knew that it would be important to me, and it became very important. This particular stone actually grows like this, in this rhombus shape, naturally. It only grows in one particular area of the world, in Iceland, in this cave. So failure 2 of my residency is when I booked the car to go to this mine, all weather broke completely loose, broke havoc, everything was blocked, I didn't get to go. So this is like my sign maybe from the universe, I need to go back. But part of what was exciting to me about this stone is that it's optically clear, but when you look through it, it actually doubles your perception. Has anybody seen these? I feel like the desert is like a big crystal place, and maybe some people know even more than I do.
You look through it and you see something double, or you see the stone double?
Your vision gets doubled. Yeah, which is kind of exciting. Part of what interested me about it, well, first of all, was that this is like a natural lens that grows, right, on this planet. It had been used to create some of the first glasses and optical devices in the world. So there's something interesting about that. But the other thing is they think that this is the fabled sunstone that the Vikings maybe would have used to navigate by way of using this stone to kind of tell them where the sun was and to sort of navigate like that. And I just thought that's so, like, what a beautiful sort of, I don't know, metaphor for how we connect to the earth, to have like a stone somehow shine, light and shed the way for us to navigate. Oftentimes my work begins either with hikes, immersions in new places, or sensory deprivation kind of situations, but usually there's some kind of vision story or theory that spawns some of this work. So this is a vision theory from the 2nd century, which has been debunked, by the way. We know a little bit more now. But the theory basically said that we see the world thanks to miniature crystals in our eyes, right? And I just thought, what a beautiful sentiment, first of all. But also, it's not totally false, right? Because our eyes do really, what's the word I'm thinking in French? They do sort of crystallize, or they do frame, right, our vision, and there's still some parts of the eye that are even named after crystals. So this theory took me to Spain, to a small town called Cadiz, where it's said to have the most watchtowers in the world. And so I wanted to go. I work with perception, let's go where there's the watchtowers. And it struck me how the watchtowers also, like the crystals, really frame how we see things. From these particular watchtowers, you could see Africa from Spain, and then you're thinking, okay, like they're really shaped in a way to kind of make you look at me where I am versus you where you are. And so do military materiel, right? Like gun scopes, ranges, things like this. So I have a collection of these. I brought just 2 or 3 to show you. I went about this sort of project trying to almost, kind of talk about this idea of crystals in our eyes, but through these kind of optical lenses. One of the things that I was doing is understanding how the lens or the crystal, however you want to see it, it's actually kind of deconstructing vision, right? We only see 3 colors. I don't know if people here, everybody knows that. I give talks in different places. Some people don't. It still blows my mind that we only see red, green, and blue. But then it means that your brain and your eye is really taking these individual impulses and then coalescing them and creating a kind of vision, right? How can it possibly be accurate? So with this project, I was reversing this process of sort of framing sight. I love this image because here I was, I took some of these lenses. I built my own kind of handmade lenses, and then this image that's so beautiful and full of colors, actually there was nothing there, right? So it's sort of like the wind and atmosphere and molecules in the air, or maybe ghostly creature, or maybe invention of your mind. But there's something so interesting when the camera is actually kind of able to capture it as well. And this is one of the earlier maybe projects that I did in Joshua Tree, so I thought I would show it. It's based off of this same theory, these same ideas. I created handmade lenses out of these disused sort of military optics to talk about how we frame vision, and then road tripped through the national park. This was maybe back in about 10 years ago in 2016. And then I subsequently made the work. The video is then projected again through these initial handmade lenses. And so it creates this kind of kaleidoscope around space where it's deconstructing vision. And to me, feels much more immediate and real and effective. Feels much more like the real experience that I had. And I think this is my issue with photography and lens-based practices in general is that how can you possibly capture any, you know, any kind of affect or any kind of full body sensation out of a single shot? So I'm always kind of mucking around with them. Okay, I'm using my notes here. Yeah, so this latest body of work. This pink piece is what you can see over there. We thought we'd bring it in, give us a little ambiance. So let you check it out. So this work kind of continued again along this idea of deconstructing the sort of color perception with lenses. In this case, I'm building my own lenses. I'm not creating these sort of rainbow effects. I'm looking instead at trying to stack each part of the landscape in its separate colors. It's all shot on slide film, so I have no idea, you know, whether it's going to turn out or not. None of the, I don't know about any of you, maybe you have better cameras than me, but none of the light meters on those things work anymore, so you kind of have to just like trust that, you know, things are going to work out. So these are all from slides, and again, part of it is the celluloid of the slide, right? The filmic material is kind of similar to these prisms and crystals. I really like that there's a materiality to it. It's important to me in my work. I think that's part of what, you know, keeps art separate from, let's not get into AI and all of that, but we could maybe later. And then the work is accompanied by these sculptural lenses that allow the viewer to kind of, you know, see maybe a little bit the way that I was seeing. Yeah, and the idea is really to capture the affect of space more than maybe the reality of space itself. I like to use landscape as a foil to bring up these kind of conversations. Anybody else see this? Is it just me? Driving me bananas. Okay. Speaking of cool perceptual, yeah. So here's just another couple examples of these works that we had at Royal Projects, and yeah, I don't know. I'll stop talking in a bit, and then people can maybe share thoughts or what they think. I'd be curious to know. But let's keep the party train going. I said that I would talk about different vision theories, so I'm going to bring another one in. This is the vision theory of extramission that says that we can see the world because our eyes shine light onto it, right? Obviously, that also has been debunked, but there's still something kind of true about it, because we each put our own memories, moods, language, background, history, and even embodiment into framing how it is that we see. So one of the things that I wanted to play with regards to extramission is this idea that your brain can and your eyes can produce their own vision sometimes. Anybody who's done sensory deprivation work or who has waking dreams, like, you know how your brain can kind of create these visions. I thought we could play with this one just to experience after images. So some of you are very familiar with this, some of you maybe not. I'll ask you to stare at the black spot and we'll count maybe to 15. In our heads. And then immediately look on the white side. I love that. Perfect reaction. Thank you for that.
He looks wrong.
It's a little wild, right? So this is like a popular sort of optical illusion, you know, but that exemplifies this idea of after images, right? And what's happening is when we overstimulate and oversaturate the sensible cones that are what perceive color within our eyes, then your body has to kind of try, your brain is always trying to make a normal, some kind of median normal kind of space, right, to flatten everything. And so it ends up blasting this opposite color to kind of just like normalize things. But that's so fun. It gives so many possibilities.
Can I ask what people saw? What do they see?
Oh yeah, can people, yeah. Who, the people who went, oh, what did you see?
I can't say it out loud. No, it was the patterns, yeah.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
kind of like a green, it was almost like a fluorescent green after image.
Yeah.
That was in the same shape, like a negative and the positive.
Yeah, and there's tons of these, you know, online. That was one of the American flag I almost brought in anyway. But there's different ones. The best one is it's a blob of it looks like a bad Warhol screen print of a portrait, and then but like weird colors. And you look at it, and then you look to the white, and it's suddenly like a perfectly normal, properly colored portrait, right? And then I just was giving you a little illustration here. But I'm not a scientist. That's why I'm an artist. I get to pretend I'm other things whenever I want. So this brought me to the piece called Staring at the Sun. And I wanna share it with you because it's a piece I kind of started several years ago, and it's only lately like been getting kind of traction. And for all of you, this feels probably familiar. It feels very like light and spacey, or kind of maybe Turelli. What I'm playing with here is again this idea of extranition, of us creating our own visions, and it's essentially like a hallucination installation that allows you to see colors that don't physically exist anywhere in the world. And so it's really kind of a sort of meditative space where eventually you lose all sense of what's real and what's not real. So there's a couple of things happening here. The circle is a large, I think 5-foot dome that kind of protrudes from the wall, but it's made to look like it's kind of melted into the wall. There's a video projection that comes from, lots of research in kind of color interactions. And these colors are kind of projected on the dome at a syncopated rhythm. And what happens is a little bit like what happened to us when we were looking at that pink pattern. Eventually your brain starts just pelting this shape with its own colors. And then the convexness becomes concave, and you just start losing kind of all sense of physical bearing. It's also accompanied by a soundtrack based on research NASA did in the 70s when people were really seeing a lot of UFOs, sort of all of a sudden, and they were like, what's going on? And there were a couple of different theories they had, but all of them were based around sound, that there's certain sounds that maybe were more introduced into people's homes at those times, very, very low vibrations that your brain doesn't realize or doesn't really notice. But if you stop and you really try and listen, then you know the fridge sound, for example, or a fan or whatever becomes very obvious. And their theory was that either A, those sounds vibrate your iris a tiny bit, and then that's what ends up making you hallucinate, or B, which is a theory that now a lot of meditators use, that this kind of binaural beat can actually tune your brain waves to a certain frame of mind. So the installation tunes your brain waves to the theta brainwave, which is kind of when you're just when you're falling asleep, right? And maybe starting to see things. And for my Vancouver friends, we're gonna announce soon, you'll be able to see it before the end of the year. So that'll be, I'll be curious to see what you think. And here's just a couple more photos just to show you kind of how the installation looks. The walls also bleed color and all of that. Okay.
The color bleeds from the light. The walls aren't painted.
The walls aren't painted. No, that's
the
right.
color bleeds from the. Okay, thanks.
That's right. So the walls have colored light that is changing on its own rhythm. So yeah, you become completely discombobulated. So how are we feeling? Because I know normally artist talks here are a little bit shorter or a bit more casual. I don't want to take people's time. Do we want to just kind of jump to the end, look at a couple of Arctic photos, and then kind of go outside and do our tour, or do you want to hear about one or two more vision theories? Where's people's energy?
It's okay to go on, but the work that you had at Royale's, there was one that had like plaque sheet there. The first slide you
Yep.
showed where you had the Trism sculpture, but there was also one left of the slide that seemed to have a built out of what looked like yellow plexi.
That's right.
And then the other one, the next slide seemed to have, was that red. So they become so you're making them, besides looking at them,
Yeah.
you're adding three-dimensionality to the actual flat surface of whatever you're working
Absolutely.
on. Okay.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Why?
Well, a couple of things. One of the reasons is that vision, again, my issue with photography is that it doesn't make sense to me that a sense that is so physically embodied and that brings in so many different kind of elements in order to allow us to perceive the world suddenly is just like rendered as this one kind of flat thing. So I'm always either trying to add some kind of time-based quality, and sometimes it's, I do lots of video work, I make color-changing light boxes, things like this. But with that particular work, it relies on your body, right? And so as you kind of move around the work, then you start to perceive different things in it. And the hope is that you can kind of immerse yourself in that same affective space, that I was in.
I'm really enjoying your talk, but I want to mention that I think it's going to get windier. So if
Okay.
you're going to go outside, it might be better to
We should go
do
out
it soon
sooner.
and then come back and talk.
Okay, okay, sure.
Yeah.
What do people want to do?
I think just make a decision and go ahead.
Make a decision?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
I don't even remember what I have here. Now you're gonna have to look at a couple of things.
Good.
Click. Now it's just a slideshow. Yeah. Oh, okay. I think I had already told myself it was too long, and I had hidden a bunch of things. So we'll just maybe end coming kind of full circle back to the Arctic. And then if anyone has questions and wants to look at other stuff, we can have a side chat. So I showed you at the beginning some photos from Iceland and some of the work I was doing there. Last summer, I was very lucky to be invited by the Swedish government to go spend a month at the tippy top of Sweden and to explore my light kind of work there. I went during the summer solstice because that's when the sun never goes down, right? So in Iceland, it was the sun never rose, it just, things became a little bit pink. And then here it was the opposite. And what a sense of like just, I don't know, like deliriousness and absolute enchantment hiking at 3 a.m. in the morning, and nobody else is there because you're the wild person and everybody else is sleeping, but you're there by yourself, and it's like magic hour for like endless magic hour. So it's really a photographer's paradise if any of you want to try that out. The only people I frequented were reindeer herders and some people whose land had been passed down to them for hundreds and hundreds of years. So it was really, really interesting. And then I took some of these same kind of prismic ideas from the desert into the Arctic there. Part of why I wanted to share this Arctic trip with you is that I kept being just flabbergasted at how much the experience of the Arctic was very similar to the experience of the desert, even though obviously we know, you know, there's some pretty obvious differences there of you know, heat and all of that. But in terms of the geology, and also in terms of the affect and the kind of space that your body goes into, there's a lot of similarities. Same kind of incredible qualities of light and of silence. And there's a couple images, I think, where, yeah, like the geology is a bit more obvious. I think the tones, the kind of plants that are there are very similar to the ones that are here. And so it's just this kind of, yeah, it was really interesting to kind of see that dichotomy, but yet things being very similar. I've made a lot of work that I didn't show today, but based on ideas around climate change and things that are kind of shifting slowly over time. And so, yeah, I was just kind of floored to. I kept thinking I'm in California. I kept thinking I'm in the high desert. Oh yeah, and this, while I was preparing the slides, I realized this is wild. Like this. So I went to Sweden. I took that image, and a lot of what I was trying to show was like the midnight sun. I don't know if it's totally effective or not, but anyway, that's where I'm trying to get with it. And then I realized it's so similar to the work that I presented, the second show I presented at Royal Projects, that was 3 slide projectors that were combining colors together through a metaphor of the moon, right? The moon is another kind of fun parable of vision where we sort of have this collective hallucination of the color white, but the moon, of course, is not white. Anyway, I was very excited to see that pairing. Bernard kind of wanted me to show you this, but I think I'm going to skip it because it's a bit too long. And then I could play it in the background on a loop or something, and then if people want to, when they come in and get drinks, you can see it. It's essentially, I will describe it though, it's essentially, whoops, I said don't play. Okay, it's essentially a huge projection mapping video that I make and that is continuously growing. Every time that I travel, I add to it. It's largely handmade analog interventions on landscape imagery, again, to sort of talk about using it as a foil and talk about the shifting climate too. Okay. Oh, here's just a photo of it.
He does nice things. Sorry for people not there. Jordan Strong basically works the facade of the gallery that allows artists like you to play with it.
Yeah,
Which is
Jordan
really
Strom.
important.
Yeah, Jordan Strom is a wonderful local curator who I had been doing studio visits with for maybe a decade, and then they commissioned me. This kind of regional museum up there, I guess, commissioned me to do this project that lasted all summer long and was there all night. And yeah, Bernard came up and we hung out and we saw it. Yeah, Jordan has a. Did you go to that opening?
I haven't. No,
I didn't
yeah,
manage to
you know,
make it.
I move around.
Okay, maybe we'll go together. It's a date. Maybe this little clicker thing has given up. I think I just had a thank you slide. Give it to me. Okay. Thanks, everyone. Yeah, if people have questions or there's anything you want to know more about, I can take them. We can do it here, or we can do it informally so that people are not a captive audience. But I'm so, yeah, I just feel so moved and honored that you all took time out of your Saturday to come sit in the dark with me and look at art. I'm really, really grateful to each and every one of you. So thanks for coming back.
One of the perils I find of not speaking from notes was I completely didn't talk about the way Annie welcomed me to Vancouver when I was there, introduced me to people. I got the opportunity to see that wonderful work in Surrey, and very grateful for the hosting up there. So
Yeah,
we're glad we could reciprocate.
yeah, well, likewise, Bernard, yeah.
Are there any questions that anybody has? Or should we go on a walkabout and then come back and mill around? Yeah, Penny's saying we should go on the walkabout. Let's do that.
Yeah, let's
Thank you
go.
very much, and we'll come back here
Thank you.
afterwards.